Yo, what is good, everybody? It is your boy, Golden Falls, Golden What Ifs, whatever you want to call me, and I am back. This is part 2 of 2 of What If Deku had a space quirk, and as always, if you guys enjoy, please show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. And I don't want to waste any more of your time, and I want to get right into the What If, so let's get it. Izuku Midoriya is all with his class, training and trying to prepare himself throughout the forest training camp. And the forest training camp is a big part of their training regimen and a big part of them getting more powerful, getting stronger, and getting more prepared. And throughout the days, Izuku gets a lot better with his powers, and frankly gets a lot better in terms of understanding what he can truly do and what his capabilities are. And that's the big thing for Izuku Midoriya. The big thing for Izuku is figuring out every aspect that he can get into and every aspect he can utilize. And that's what he needs to do. Because before you know it, the forest training camp would be run heavy with a bunch of villains. Villain after villain would storm through the forest training camp, and the villains would have to be stopped in some sort of way. And Izuku begins to fly around to help his classmates and throw comet-like kind of these projectiles that are very, very similar to comets in a way, straight at the villains. And these would do massive damage as long as he could partially control them. It doesn't, destroy a ton of stuff. But one thing that he has to deal with is getting rid of a monster of a man by the name of Muscular. This villain attacks a little kid by the name of Koda, and Izuku is forced into action quicker than you could imagine. This action would lead to Koda being absolutely terrified, but of course Muscular would have to deal with Izuku, who is throwing these comet-like absolute bombs at him, throwing these things at him, and as he's doing this, Muscular is trying to basically block them or catch them, and he gets sent through the mountain itself as the mountain would collapse on itself, covering Muscular in basically like a tomb of some sorts, covering him entirely in rubble, and he grabs Koda and flies him off eventually to safety. And he flies around trying to help his other classmates as well throughout this time, and it helps quite a bit. So much so that the capture of Bakugo goes far from easy and actually doesn't work at all. They straight up are literally unable to get a hold of Bakugo, and this is just one of their negatives throughout their plans. They thought their plans were going to be on the up and up, but ever since that plan to invade the USJ went extremely wrong, let's just say things have been collapsing quicker than normal. Like almost everything has been collapsing quicker than normal. And Izuku is a part of that massively, because not only did he help stop this entire invasion, but he also stopped so much more with the kind of premonitions that he had initially. And Izuku and his class would eventually be forced to leave the forest training camp, and as they leave, they're kind of getting word about what's happening in Japan. It seems like some massive battle is breaking out, and a massive kind of a fight between All For One and All Might is actually happening as they speak. And as they arrive, they're ushered into a safe space and then eventually ushered back to UA, and they would watch the televisions as All Might would go head to head with All For One. Other heroes all scattered around to have to fight alongside other heroes to take down different Nomus. And throughout this time, they're doing everything in their power to actually get a leg up on the villains that are currently there. But obviously, it's far from that easy. It's far from easy in general. Now, All Might begins to clash with All For One, begins to go head to head and begins to go blow for blow, but All For One seems to be keeping up and doing his due diligence in terms of the fight itself. And Izuku believes that they need to do something. They need to help All Might, but as All Might actually, or as he says this, All Might seems to be getting the upper hand, or at least partially getting the upper hand. And as All Might is actually getting that upper hand, it seems like All For One himself believes that he should really have his final trump card come out of nowhere and try to change the fight for good. And his final trump card is a giant monster known as Gigantomachia. And Gigantomachia would come out of nowhere, smacking All Might straight to the ground and immediately dropping him out of his large All Might form, or his muscular All Might form. And immediately it would shock everyone and everything, because what just happened, it shouldn't have happened. What just happened blows everyone's mind. How did this happen? What happened? And what is going on? All Might is on the ground, unable to move, and All For One and a giant monster is standing above him. Immediately, Izuku is thinking to himself that he has to do something. He has to go help. They have to do something. Other heroes begin to converge, and they begin to start fighting the giant monster and even start fighting with All For One. And since All Might did a ton of damage to All For One in the first place, it seems like All For One is somewhat beatable. But with the help of Gigantomachia, it seems like things are spiraling out of control fast. Izuku looks toward Aizawa as Aizawa is called to the battlefield. But quickly, everybody, including a ton of the students, begin to believe that they need to jump in, that they need to do something, and they need to help out as much as possible. And Bakugo, Shota Todoroki, everybody, all these other students begin to just leap away and fly or kind of traverse the area as fast as possible. Eventually, Izuku would even arrive at the battlefield, looking at Gigantomachia and realizing that nobody is going to be able to stop him. He throws comet after comet toward his way, and the thing is seemingly brushing it off. And Izuku doesn't want to unleash all of his power here because it could hurt what's around him and could hurt all the other heroes. So he delays actually going that nuclear to away. But he decides that he has to do something. He immediately would put small black holes all around the giant monster, and he would think to himself that he somehow needs to send this thing away, somehow needs to capture this thing, and he does everything in his power, holding him still, but they can't do a single thing. It seems like all the heroes that are trying to do something, none of it works. Not even a single power or quirk they have is benefiting. And they were thinking that maybe Midnight's quirk could put it to sleep, but they don't have enough time. They don't have enough time to truly get a full grasp on if Midnight's quirk's going to do anything. And they don't have enough time to see if they can really input it throughout the creature's entire body. And quickly, Izuku's going to have to make a choice that could change everything and every last one of them forever. And that, well, is to make a sacrifice. And Izuku decides to immediately fly at Gigantomachia, grabbing onto its body and creating kind of a bit of a kind of large hole or black hole-esque thing, and sending not only Gigantomachia, but also himself through the hole. As it sends them both through, it actually sends them to outer space. And as this is happening, Izuku basically has this domain of outer space itself, taking Gigantomachia out of there, or out of the Earth's orbit, and making it so that he has to float away into nothingness forever. But as Izuku hovers there and looks around, he believes that this right here is the end. That there's nothing else he could do. That whatever happened, whatever's going on, and whatever's going to happen has already occurred, and now it's time for him to just die. But as he floats, he begins to feel something. Feel that he's not cold, he's not freezing in the vacuum of space, and then he begins to take a deep breath. One after another. And as he's taking those deep breaths, he's realizing, how am I breathing? He realizes that in space itself, he's able to even take deep breaths, able to fill his lungs with oxygen when there is basically none. He realizes quickly that he has to get back to the planet. He's been floating away for a while, and he begins flying directly toward it. He doesn't know how his body will react, but he immediately would fly through the atmosphere, and he would begin burning up. Yes, he's not burning up to the point where like he's going to explode or die or anything like that, but he is starting to burn up just a little bit. He slows down and tries to progress his way through, and eventually he's above UA itself. And as he's above it, he sees that everything that happened, all the destruction of the cities, everything seemingly has stopped. The destruction is no more, and it seems like the destruction is completely ex-nate. It seems like all of what was happening, everything that occurred, was all in the distant past. And he wonders, how is this happening? How does this even make sense? And what is even going on? He would fly down toward UA High School as the alarms would go off. And as he does this, he sees something. He sees something odd. He sees a statue of some sorts, a statue of what seems to be him. He doesn't know what it is, what's going on, but as he lands, he would look around and he would see older versions of different heroes, or older versions of even the students he went to school with, from Ochaku Uraka to Todoroki to Bakugo to many others. They all would come and meet outside and see him and be in shock. How did he get here? What's going on? What is even happening? And Izuku asked them the same thing. What is going on? Where am I? What happened to you guys? Why are you guys older? And they ask him, why is he so young? I mean, it's been 2 years, at least, probably more. So how is this possible? In which Izuku looks around and realizes that UA itself is different. UA itself is so vastly different, and it seems like the space and time has shattered once again. He was sent back in time once, but now he was sent forward, and he doesn't understand how it even happened. He tells them what occurred, what happened, what he did, and they tell him that they know what he did. They were there. They saw him sacrifice himself, sending Gigantomachia into space, and they sent ship after ship to look for him, but no sign of him. But to be fair, it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It doesn't matter. There was a good chance they would have never found him in the first place. And they were thinking that maybe, just maybe, that you flat out sacrifice yourself for the greater good. In which Izuku looks around and says, that was the plan. Yeah, he had full intentions of sacrificing himself, full intentions of giving his life for the greater good, but now he's here. He flew back down through the atmosphere and landed here. He doesn't know how, doesn't know when, doesn't know what's going on, but it happened. He somehow is back here. And everybody kind of brings a ton of the teachers, Aizawa and many others, and they talk about this. And Izuku has no idea what to do, but at the end of the day, he missed a lot. A lot. He, in a technical sense, would have been in his last year of UA, but he has to now truck through the rest of his first year and try to speed up the last 2 years of his high school, or his high school kind of career. And Izuku, well, he's thrown right in head first. I mean, immediately Izuku's first thing is dealing with the provisional hero license exam. They can't just hand it to him just because he's some sort of Japanese hero, that he's some sort of hero for the ages, at least for now. He made a sacrifice, but that was big, and maybe that does help with some favor, but overall that doesn't make it all good and well. This leads him to going into the provisional hero license, actually dealing with the kind of dodgeball like portion, or kind of the you got to touch the lights in a pretty easy fashion, a pretty simple fashion, and they handle that to a large degree, and something that is pretty straightforward. And Izuku is then put in a spot where he has to do like a rescue portion of training. And in terms of Izuku, it's simple. He can clear rubble very easily with his quirk. He can fly around. He's insanely strong to pick things up and move things, and also he can hold off any villains or fake villains that eventually show up as well. And all of these aspects is literally what he gets into. All of these aspects are things that Izuku makes sure to do. He makes sure to protect, makes sure to help out, makes sure to show off his powers, and eventually at the end of the provisional hero license exam, he would pass. He would go on to the very next round. He would go on to get his provisional hero license, but at the end of the day, this isn't the end of it. At the end of the day, this isn't the end of what they're doing. This isn't the end of what he's progressing. Because Izuku has to go through 2 more years of high school But at the same time, he watches his classmates graduate. He watches his classmates continue on, progress, and get further in their own careers. And what he did is he had to watch himself. He had to watch his life disappear. He had to watch everything that he hoped and cared for disappear. He was gone for 2 years, gone without a sight. They had enough time to build a memorial for him, a statue in his name, but he's back now. But he still doesn't get any extra leeway, and he's working with people, with students, with future heroes that in all honesty are far less prepared than he ever was. And not only did they lose Izuku Midoriya that day, at least for the moment, they also lost All Might. And Izuku, before you know it, would finally realize that. Because one day, he would even ask about it. Ask Aizawa, where's All Might? What's going on? We haven't seen him in a while. And, well, Aizawa tells him that he didn't want to bring this up because he has a lot to focus on. But that same day he went missing and he was disappeared and presumed dead was the same day All Might went missing as well. And this would shock Izuku, shock him entirely, because he didn't even think about this. All he could think about, how selfish of him to just think that he needed to focus on what he had to do, that he needs to focus on getting prepared, that he needs to focus on becoming the hero he wants to be. And yes, it might not be a traditional selfish, it might not be selfish really in the eyes of many, but to him, he didn't mourn the death of a great hero. He didn't mourn the death of the hero that everybody called one of the greatest ever, one of the best ever, and one of flat out the greatest heroes to ever exist, known as All Might. And at the end of the day, nobody remembered, and on top, or he couldn't have remembered properly if he wasn't there to live throughout that day. They all remembered, they all mourned, but he never got that chance. And Izuku, well, he still doesn't get that chance, because Izuku Midoriya has to push on forward no matter what. And it starts to get to him just a little bit. He wonders with himself, in a way, is this too much? Is this, in a way, going to be too difficult? Well, at the end of the day, he has to make that choice, and make that choice pretty damn quickly, because nothing is going to slow down. All of it will just continue to push forward, and that's what he realized when all that time passed away, and also all that time passed by him. So now he's realizing quickly that he has to make up for that said time. But he does just that. Over the course of the next 2 years, Izuku Midoriya will continue his training, continue his preparation, because yes, time didn't change for him. He didn't get older, and circumstances didn't really fall for itself. But at the same time, everyone else around him didn't stop at all and kept progressing forward when he could no longer progress forward himself. But still, Izuku decides that it doesn't matter what he went through and what happened in the past. He knows that he has to continue pushing on forward to make sure that he can be the hero he wants to be and the hero he ends up being. And that's exactly what he ends up doing. Izuku's progression is halted for an extra 2 years, but over the course of those 2 years, he continues to gain power, strength, and also favor with literally everyone within Japan. I mean, at the end of the day, everyone believed him to be gone, but he did save the day at the end of the day. So when his 3rd year is finally up, Izuku Midoriya is given quite a few opportunities to continue what he wanted to in the first place. With other students / heroes now that were once his friends already progressed pretty quickly, Izuku now understands that he has to play a little bit of catch up. But with what he did and his noble-esque sacrifice, it seems like his catch up isn't too far-fetched in the long run and isn't too far-fetched in the grand scheme of things. But his journey of being a hero is not going to be the easiest one in the world. His grasp on his own quirk continues to grow out of favor, and his quirk itself continues to show that it has potential that maybe he doesn't even understand in the long run. But we don't know for sure what is next, what villains may come and what heroes may fall. But Izuku Midoriya's his enter into actual herohood is just beginning. But Izuku Midoriya, well, let's just say he wants to stand straight next to some of the former students and former friends he once had, and that's exactly what he prepares to do. He prepares not only to get stronger, not only to get better, but to be more prepared and to have an actual effect on, well, Japan and the hero society, which that's exactly what he's going to end up doing, especially when everybody remembers him as the person that sacrificed himself on the same day that the #1 hero fell in battle. They won't be able to help but kind of compare him to All Might and compare him to, well, the last day that they saw the #1 hero protect the entirety of their country. But with that said, the future of Izuku may be unknown, but it seems that he has all the right intentions and all the right kind of potential to be the hero he seeks out to be. But with that said, that is the end of this video and the end of What If Deku Had a Space Quirk. And if you enjoyed, please show some love, leave a like, leave a sub, and leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. And if you guys enjoyed the video, yeah, show some love to the video, all that good stuff. And yeah, that's all I gotta say. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.